Hold on a minute, y'all. We got a hole in the fence that needs patching. And I'm not talking about that fence back there. I'm talking about our story. What in the world is going on here? Why can't Elijah take care of himself? He's a grown man, for pity's sake. And why is God sending him to a starving widow, for goodness sake? And why is she starving in the first place? So many questions. So let me take a whack at this and see if I can get us all up to speed on what's going on here in this place called Zarephath. First, Elijah has gotten the heck out of Dodge, aka Israel, because he teed off King Ahab. He told King Ahab in 1 Kings 17 verse 1, "As surely as the Lord of Israel lives, the God I serve, there will be no dew or rain during the next few years until I give the word." Who is King Ahab? I'm glad you asked. He was the most evil king that Israel had had up to that point in their history. If we back up just a little bit in 1 Kings 16, 30 through 33, the Bible says it this way. "But Ahab, son of Omri, did what was evil in the Lord's sight, even more than any of the kings before him. And as though it were not enough to follow the sinful example of Jeroboam, he married Jezebel, the daughter of King Ethbaal of the Sidonians, and he began to bow down in worship of Baal. First, Ahab built a temple and an altar for Baal in Samaria. Then he set up an Asherah pole. He did more to provoke the anger of the Lord, the God of Israel, than any of the other kings of Israel before him." So Elijah is on the lam. He is running from King Ahab. He left with the shirt on his back. I mean, probably tunic. He left with the tunic on his back and by the skin of his teeth. First, the Lord sends Elijah camping, just like a man to head off to the deer woods. Am I right? When my husband tries to tell me that God told him to go camping for an indefinite amount of time, I'm not buying it. However, in this case, God did tell Elijah to go and camp by the Kerith Brook. And so we're just going to have to trust providence on that one. So while on this camping trip, Elijah gets fed by birds, ravens, but birds. Y'all, birds? I am all for a backpacking trip about once a year with my friends, but I'm not getting fed by birds. You don't know where that's been. After a while, the Kerith Brook dries up. Can you say consequences, Elijah? You did pray for it. So, just to clarify, Elijah can't take care of himself because he's busy hiding from Ahab. And this drought and resulting famine thing that he prayed for is the reason why the widow, and probably everyone else, is starving. So when the camping trip is over, this is when God tells Elijah to head to the village of Zarephath in the region of Sidon. Yes, this is the same Sidon where Jezebel's daddy is king. Mercy. So I wanted to leave you with one more interesting fact before we get back to the main part of our lesson, and that is this. Sidon was actually supposed to be part of Israel. According to the boundaries of the promised land that God laid out for Moses in Deuteronomy, right before Moses dies and passes the reins on to Joshua, who leads him across the Jordan River to conquer Jericho, all that. When God is laying out the boundaries for Israel, Sidon is included. Sidon was supposed to be part of Israel. Unfortunately, the Israelites went against what God told them to do. He told them not to make treaties with any of the foreign nations, but to conquer them completely. They didn't. They made a treaty, and therefore Sidon was never conquered. They lived among the Israelites, but they were not Israelites. And so as a result, exactly what God said would happen, happened. The leaders of Israel succumbed to the influences of foreign gods. happens.